All right, grab your instrument and jump in the back of your parents' Ford Mondeo because it's time for the My Mum Was Our Roadie podcast with me, Alex Camp. We're talking about the experience of being in a teen band or a band in your 20s, whether you made it or not. We're in there for the experience. And remember to like and subscribe now at this point because we need you. In case you drop out at some point during this episode, get a like or a subscribe on there and share the show. I'd like to introduce our guest. This is episode 4, our third guest we've had on. And so I'll try and give a rundown of this man's story career. He is a stand-up comedian. He's been tour support for Dan Nightingale, for, I believe, Paul Smith?
Paul Smith, yeah.
Adam Rowe?
One for Paul, Adam Rowe. Done to Jason Manford.
Jason Manford, very good.
Yeah, that was a good one.
The good Manford.
And Finn Taylor and Lloyd Griffith as well. You want to throw them in there as well?
He's opening for a great deal of very, very good comedians because he's a very, very good comedian himself, one of my favorites on the scene. Also, a podcast host in his own right for the Mild High podcast, which hosted and co-founded with your partner, Amy Lee. That's right, isn't it?
That's the one, yeah.
And just all-around great guy. Also talented tattoo artist as well. And former musician, Dean Coughlin, everybody.
What can't he do?
He does it all, this guy.
Nice one for having us, man.
You're very welcome, man.
Yeah, 4 things.
It's always good to speak to you. And well, let's get straight into it. So you're a comedian now. How long have you been doing comedy for?
It's coming up on like 6-7 years, but then you've got COVID and all that in the middle there, haven't you? So
we don't count it.
We're not too off.
We're not too off.
Yeah, say 4 or 5.
Kind too. Yeah, absolutely. And you were before that, if I'm right, hopefully this is right, because it's the whole reason you're on here, you were playing guitar in some bands, is that right?
That's true, yeah. That is
Fantastic.
True.
Oh my goodness, we're in there. Just before we get started on all the chronological stuff, is there a particular experience or gig that you'd say was like a big thing that you managed to do while you were in bands? Anything that sticks out in your memory?
There wasn't really any big gigs. It was all a lot of like local shows and stuff. We supported a band called Martyr Defiled. They were quite a big band for a bit.
Martyr Defiled.
Yeah, that's the problem with metal bands, isn't it? You get a lot of infant annihilators and stuff like that.
Pig destroyer.
Yeah. But I think Martyr Defiled were pretty big at the time. But a lot of them were just like regional shows, you know, not many in.
I do love that experience of playing with that big band, though, where they're not, you know, most people have never heard of this band. It's similar with comedy. You're like, oh, I'm opening for this guy, and you're like, they don't know who it is.
Yeah.
Until you're getting up to your Jason Manfords, where everybody knows. But people at your office job when you're coming up, they don't know who a lot of these people are. What was the experience for you guys playing that? Where was that show?
I think that was only in like Preston or something.
Okay. And your Liverpool, Merseyside area,
Liverpool,
right?
Yeah. So it's not too far away, about an hour away.
What was the venue in Preston?
I think it might have been called like 54 or something.
Oh, okay.
It was a while ago. It was about 8 to 10 years ago. This now.
Oh, right.
But it was a good one. But that was when we was in the Cthulhu, which was the second band, and that was just like a lot of music just for people to like fight to. Do you know what I mean? It was just a lot of noise, a lot of like I had an 8-string guitar, and it's just unnecessary. I think like we were playing like an octave below E.
8 is way too many. 7 was already a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, so an octave below E it was just sludge. It was just noise. Yeah, just for people to just like throw the bodies around too. Do you get what I mean?
What did people fight to in like the 17 and 1800s? Because I feel like a lot more fighting went on back then.
Yeah,
maybe was it like
it was just fanfares, wasn't it? Yeah, they didn't really like fanfares and drums. It seems to be like in battle. I don't know what the music was more for downtime, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. The music stops when the battle commences.
Yeah, you can't bring like a lute and a harpsichord to a battle.
You really can't.
You can't do that.
I bet there was one guy probably. They circulate before and after. I feel like, or they did.
Around all the corpses.
Get a couple of guineas off them, a couple of pennies.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we'll start from when you got into it. So when was the first time you thought, oh, I want to be in a band? Like I was 5 years old for some reason. I don't know why, but I was five.
Yeah.
I remember being 5.
Yeah, no way.
I didn't start playing until later, but I was that young.
Well, I remember like I got into a lot of different types of music because of my dad. Like he's into all sorts. Like he used to love like Pink Floyd and that when I was like really young. I remember getting a guitar and like a little drum set and stuff when I was younger. But it was only really in like me early teens when I started like wanting to learn the guitar. And then that led on to like playing in little bands in music classes in school. It was like our school had like little rock concerts and stuff that the music students could play in and stuff like that. So a few of us would play like a few Metallica songs and stuff, you know, like through then. But then it was when I come out of school going into university, it was like sixth form time, was when I got into the first band, Codeca. And that was through MySpace, weirdly enough. Like, I didn't even really know who they were. And I just seen like a little bulletin pop up saying like guitarist wanted.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, do you know what? They live in Formby. It's only up the road. I'll give it a go, see what happens. And then
that's it's like the equivalent of the ad in the back of the NME, like the Morrissey finding that ad from Johnny Marr in the back of the NME.
Yeah.
It's almost like that.
It's one of them, yeah, because I didn't even realise I didn't listen to them or like I just must have followed them because it was like a local band or seen the name about or whatever. And as I say, yeah, so just they sent me the song and they were like, oh, it's a bit of a difficult one if you're not used to playing that sort of style, but I was already used to playing. It's like Funeral for a Friend, kind of thricey style.
Of course.
And I was already used to playing all that, so I learnt it and like went and practiced with them, and then they learned another song while I was there at the first practice. So they were just sort of like, oh yeah, this kid. And
were they like, whoa, he's good?
Yeah, well, yeah, in a way, because I was younger than them as well. I was like 17, and they were like on the way to being like 20s and that. So.
All right.
I think they would just be like, let's see if this kid can play the song, and then it was
this baby.
Yeah,
go home to your mommy, and then just rip it.
I remember it being a really weird feeling though, of like, because I'd only learned the song to a guitar profile, which is like MIDI stuff in it, like sounds real like janky.
Yeah.
But then the first like even the drummer count in, and then it was all starting. Like it hit me, and I was sort of like, whoa, this is what it's like being in a real band. Like it was a crazy feeling. I'll never forget that the first few notes played where they were all like just normally playing the tune, and I was like, this sounds good, you know, guys. You know, like this sounds class. It was a weird feeling, like never felt it before in my life, really, because it was all covers and that usually when you're younger in it, and then this was like a genuine like a written song by this band, and it was just mad to hear it live. Yeah.
There's nothing like the experience of rocking out with other people, especially with a drummer, and especially when it's loud too.
Yeah.
Rock music of any kind compared to doing an acoustic thing or playing in an orchestra.
Yeah.
Plugging into amps and hearing the bass pump out and the
just
kick
pure
drum go.
Energy. Yeah.
And that's one thing that that's the thing I miss the most about being in bands. As a comedian, I get to tour, I get to perform. You get all that stuff, but you don't get that feeling of locking in with a band and doing it.
Yeah, it's one of two things in it, because it's easier doing stuff on your own because you're not having to rely on like 4 other people's schedules. But then also you don't have that like, I'll jump in the van after the show and drive home or whatever. You're just lonely on the road. So it's a like a bittersweet thing sometimes, isn't it? Like.
Yeah, that was the reason I got into comedy, was to let go of the organizational side of having to deal with the bands I was in were numbered to 6 people. So it was really tough to organize it. But of course, you don't have that. We were a gang, essentially. We were a gang. Yeah. I was in these bands for quite a long time, and we were really good mates. It was just like we had our own language. We had our own We didn't mix with other bands really that much when we toured, because we were just our own thing.
Yeah, because it's just a group of mates, isn't it, really? That's what it like boils down to, and you all got that like chemistry together and that. It's just you hang out when you're not doing band stuff after a while. Like you just go and chill on the weekends and then like hang out all the time with them and end up being like best mates with them all, and then you're going on the road with all your mates and it's like dead fun, dead exciting and that.
It's a very short period though. I remember the band I was in, Mean Popoline, we started when I was about 20. Early on, we decided we were a funk band and we were going to be like Morris Day and the Time or Prince. We were going to be dressed up.
What's it called? Mean Popoline.
Mean Popoline.
I like it.
That's right.
It does sound funky. Like
it was really funky.
Yeah.
And we did dance moves. We had costumes that were like.
Did you have your own dance moves or just choreographed dances?
We made them up. They weren't
okay. Yeah.
They were choreographed. There weren't many, but a few times
a few little spins and that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We had one where we like opened our legs, closed it, kicked, and then turned.
Yeah, nice.
It was fun. It was really fun.
You got any videos of that? I need to throw some videos of them.
Some. I'll put the link on there and get that in for sure. We might pop it in the inset here while we talk.
Yeah.
But we went through a period where we're like, right, what we're going to do? We're going to go around Brighton. We're going to go to house parties dressed up in these fur coats.
Nice.
And we're just going to be there. And
just hang around like an energy. Be
at the party like, Mean Popoline's here.
Yeah, who them guys? Who's the guys in the fur?
They're just guys. I think they're a band.
Yeah.
We did it once or twice, and then we were like, well, we can't do this.
Yeah.
we've got shit to do. It was definitely a gang vibe, though.
It's a good promo, though, isn't it? Just sort of hang around places. Just being, who are those guys? Who are the guys that like get people talking?
Enticing.
Did you ever try lean, or did you just call yourselves?
No, we never tried lean. We were into many different kind of recreational substances, but
never lean.
We never got the Calpol out to mix it in with whatever. We would have made a bad version of lean. It would have been Calpol mixed with probably Smirnoff Ice or something like that.
Might be quite nice, though.
Yeah, sounds all right.
Good sleeping aid. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've probably picked worse things up off the table at parties over my
definitely,
my lifetime. So yeah, let's rewind back a little bit there because you said about your dad's stuff. Now, have I ever met your parents at a gig or something? Because I have a feeling, are they young?
No. My dad's 60-something, 63 maybe.
Okay, so a little bit different generation from my dad, but not young. Did he have vinyl?
Yeah, loads.
Okay, cool.
That was what I was listening to when I was younger. Like, I remember the three that I used to listen to was Pink Floyd, Sugar Hill Rap Gang, and
Sugar Hill Gang. Nice. So he's got a bit of a
and then Frank Zappa.
Oh wow, which
so
Frank Zappa?
I remember like Baby Snakes. What was the other ones, man? I can't remember the tunes, but that was just like the variety of like what I was listening to, like because he'd show me all sorts. Like I remember coming home from like I used to skateboard a lot and be going out skating of a Friday night, and I'd come home and he'd be listening to Westwood and he'd be like, "Oh, listen to this," and it'd be like The Game and 50 Cent, and he'd be like, "Get on this tune," like so. He showed me all like a lot of stuff that I got into getting older, like so. I think if it weren't for his music taste, I don't really know if mine would be so eclectic, because I listen to a lot of different types of music. It's not just rock stuff. But yeah, so it was him listening to all sorts. Like,
yeah, we had that as well. Me and my brother. My dad certainly listened to a bunch of different things. He wasn't into hip hop, but we'd have the Motown, we'd have the soul, we'd have the rock stuff, we'd have the old blues stuff, and then there was we'd get Paul Robeson and like these singers from the 1940s.
Right.
My dad's a little bit older, so it was just this weird stuff that he would do. And then he'd suddenly get into, we all got into a band together, which was They Might Be Giants.
Right.
Because there was an episode of the cartoon Tiny Toon Adventures. They did a special episode where they did different scenes with their characters to this band's tunes.
Right, okay.
So we bought the album, and we all kind of, as me and my brother as kids, and my dad as an older man, getting into this album together, which was an early 90s college rock, weird, nerdy album.
That's cool, isn't it? Yeah.
So yeah, it's good. And I mean, when I was first at school, you had dance people, hip hop people, indie people, and that was it.
Yeah.
You had the goths a little bit. and then it just kind of all converged, didn't it? With like,
yeah. Well, I think like skateboarding brings a lot of them scenes together because like if you listen to like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater soundtrack, you go from like Rage Against the Machine, Public Enemy, and then there's like ska and punk and stuff on there. So I think this skateboarding brought a lot of it together, especially when you're watching like the skate videos and one person will be like skating to like hard rock Slayer or whatever, and then next thing someone's skating to like fucking NWA or whatever. So it just brings a load of different styles together as well, which I think helped push that.
It did. Skate punk, hip hop, thrash.
Yeah.
And you're right. What was on Tony Hawk's? Primus were on there. Del the Funky Homo Sapien was on there.
All sorts.
Goldfinger. God, everybody was. That's the Tony Hawk's
Motorhead and stuff like that. Yeah, it just went all through like different genres. It was class.
Whoever made that soundtrack, I don't know who's the guy who was responsible for that. Obviously,
genius. Whoever he is.
I guess it wasn't Tony himself, but
no, maybe not.
Maybe it was. I don't know.
But it might have been maybe if you got like the skaters that were in it. Maybe if they all picked the song, and maybe that's sort of like.
You got Steve Caballero jumping in with his favourite track.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What a niche reference that was, Steve Caballero, man.
Absolutely, get it in there.
Yeah, love it.
I love dropping in a niche reference on people. If I can do it, I will.
Yeah.
Best comedian for that is Danny McLaughlin. Weird references.
Yeah. I remember saying to someone, that fella's built like a street shark. And like, not many people will get it, but if you know what it is, you're like, oh fucking hell, yeah, bang on, you know. Like,
yeah, man,
they're the best ones, them.
Absolutely,
niche ones.
One thing I used to do, in bands early on, we'd do a guitar solo, and I'd be playing, and then I'd play theme tunes in there.
Oh, just sneak them in.
Play the X-Men theme tune.
Yeah. That's why, because the singer of Codeca, he used to always play that.
Yeah.
The tune. It must just be a little fun twiddly one to play.
So fun, just the rhythm of it. You got to get that little run, but it's actually pretty easy. So you met Codeca through MySpace. You obviously came to it in your teens, and you must have been pretty handy. You were playing quite difficult stuff. Now, how does that speak to what you've done later on? Because you're obviously a kind of person, you must get into something quite deeply, because writing jokes is not easy, and learning to do visual art, tattoos, drawing, anything like that takes time. So what is it about you that makes you kind of focus in on stuff like guitar?
Probably some sort of like addictive tendency in it, because like I'm bad with like, you know, smoking, like smoke weed and all that, and I'm bad with like sugar. I've got a real addictive kind of personality, so I think if I start doing something that I enjoy, it just like it takes over, and I'm like, this is all I want to do. Even now, like I play guitar for nothing other than just playing it, but sometimes I get obsessed and I'll sit and play it for a few hours. I'm like, why am I even doing this? I just can't stop doing it, you know. So I think like with comedy and especially comedy is like, you can just think. All you have to do is think. So you spend all day just sitting thinking of ways you can say things or change bits or new ideas and stuff like that. So I think it's probably some sort of like addictive personality thing that I've got going on.
Yeah, I think also, just having that thing in your head. Like when I was writing, like I started playing when I was 8. And I was very cocky about my ability. I was good when I was a teenager, and I was in a small town, and I was the best one around, or at least I thought I was.
Yeah.
So early on, I stopped really working on my guitar skills. But when I was in bands, I was really trying to think about songwriting all the time. Right. I was always thinking about bits and new sections, and like, this song needs a bridge, and then I get it. And now that's the way I work with jokes, and it makes, because I do musical comedy, sometimes I'm in a mode where I'm going to think of song ideas, and sometimes I'm in a mode where I'm thinking of stand-up stuff, but
it all ties in, like,
if I didn't have that, I don't know what my brain would be doing, because half the time it's obsessing over stupid stuff that's not
that's it as well.
At all.
A lot of it is like a distraction technique as well. Like sometimes I sit and play guitar just to sort of clear your head from the stresses of whatever, being paranoid that fucking someone doesn't like you, or you fucked up last night at the gig or whatever, and it just sort of takes you out of you're a bit more present in what you're doing. I think when you're playing music, especially like, and you stay off your phone as well. That's a big thing. It's just like it's just an hour or so off your phone, and you're not like got the FOMO looking at everyone else's shit going on, you know?
Yeah.
So
I wish I had more of that brain of just playing guitar all the time. Hopefully one day I will just get rid of everything else and just be able to play guitar non-stop and occasionally eat. I think I would be happy with that. Maybe tell a couple of jokes. Yeah. Let's talk about the first gig with Codeca. So your first live show, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Yeah, apart from the school rock concerts.
Oh, let's talk about that briefly. I'm just going to share that we did one at my school. We put together a band called Johnny Death and the Avalanches.
Love it.
Which was a really great name for a band that played one song at a school concert. I thought I'd show off, and I had the bass and a guitar.
Oh.
I had them both strapped to me.
Yeah.
The bass up high and the guitar down low, so I could play a solo halfway through. And I realized after we came off that the bass wasn't even plugged in.
Classic.
So that was a good one.
Yeah.
Tell me about your experience with the school gig.
The school ones they were always like, it was a fun experience, but it was more like, I think it was more nerve-wracking because you've got like students there, and like it feels like you're doing something a bit embarrassing. I don't know what it was. It was just a bit like, because you was a music student, it was kind of part of the course of like, oh, you have to do a performance. Like our school went to Barcelona and done like little concerts and that, and I remember playing so funny. I just thinking about it, like it must have been so rubbish for the people who were just on holiday at this little hotel because we like took over the entertainment for the night, and we're up there playing like Cowboys from Hell by Pantera. And it's just these people just trying to have like a normal holiday, and we're just playing like a teenage bad cover of Cowboys from Hell. So stupid, man.
That's awful. Nothing worse than that.
But it was fun though, you know. Like it was class at the time, but thinking back, you go, "Oh, that must have been terrible for them people."
Oh yeah, for you it was amazing, and for it's so crazy how for you that's such an amazing thing.
Yeah,
but for someone watching it, it's hell.
Just awful. Like just nothing would have sounded good. Like the guitars probably sounded terrible because we were just like, let's fucking whack the gain up there and just fucking get going on this. And I'd love to be able to just go back and just watch it and just see what was actually going on, you know, because it was probably terrible.
Kanye West got quoted as saying, "Oh, if I could do anything, I'd watch myself perform." And a lot of people were like, "Oh, typical Kanye, egotistical comment." I'm like, I would probably do the same thing. It would be up there for me.
Yeah. Well, that's
any gig.
Didn't Dave Gilmour get Australian Pink Floyd to do his birthday? Because
they're basically the same.
He's always
thing.
wanted to watch it, and that's like the closest you can get to a proper Pink Floyd concert. Like, and why not? It's almost the same, isn't it?
Do you reckon that's how you get the motivation when you've made all the money and you've made a couple of big albums? It's like, right, we just need to do a couple more, and someone will do a tribute act of us, and we can watch ourselves
and just live off their royalties. Just go, you need, because you must have to pay royalties for being in a tribute band or something. I don't really know the ins and outs of it, but
it's times like this I need a producer to check
Google
things like
stuff.
that out.
Yeah. We'll just leave that. Let the listeners Google that themselves, and we'll just leave it open ended.
Put it in the comments, the legality of tribute bands and how they divide up their money.
Yeah.
So you did a couple of those school concerts. That's brilliant. I'd forgotten about those, so I will have to add that to every interview now. But in terms of first gig with Codeca, where was it? How did it come about? And how were you feeling? And obviously, how did it go?
Southport. I can't remember the venue. I remember feeling real nervous because I was like lead guitar as well. So there was a few times where there was riffs where it was just me. And like they're quite difficult riffs as well. So like, you know, you've got nowhere to hide when you're just playing on your own. There's a difference when everyone, like you might hit a few odd notes when everyone's playing and no one even fucking notice. Like, but
I did.
When you're just on your own, just like, yeah. So it was quite scary, but it was fun. But I remember the guitarist that I replaced had come down as well. sort of like felt like a sort of like fucking trying to
watching
muscle
you.
me, yeah. And I just blanked him. I just didn't really even entertain the fact that he was there because I was too busy like fucking stressing that I was playing this gig and that, you know. But from what I remember, it went quite well. Southport was like a bit of a local area for them lads because one of them was from Southport and then the rest was from Formby. So I think they were used to playing a lot of shows in Southport because we played a couple of other shows in a different venue there, which also were quite well. Randomly played like a cover of Forgot About Dre.
Oh yeah, classic.
But it just like
you
a
got to do a hip hop cover. You got to do
and
it.
It just fucking went off, man. Everyone just go crazy to it. So it's always nice when if you're watching a band, you don't know any of the songs, and then they throw a cover in. You sort of at least you know that one, and it brings all the crowd together and stuff. You know.
We used to do a couple of Rage Against the Machine covers early on. We opened with Inspector Gadget theme tune.
Oh, nice.
We've done Dead Prez hip hop. That was a more recent one actually. We did that in the middle of a song. Quite a lot of covers. Oh, we used to do Cheese and Hustlers by Snoop Dogg as well. That was a classic. Yeah. Oh my God, we did some classics. Yeah,
love it. Yeah, we never really done that many covers though. So we were just it was one of them bands where it was like, no, we want to do our music. You know what I mean?
You were serious, like
yeah. The plan was to try and like do it properly, you know, like recorded a proper album and stuff, and it just never amounted to anything really. But
so what happened with that? Because I'm always interested in how bands set out like with their intentions and what they were saying to each other, and then eventually how it ended. I mean, first of all, how long were you guys together in Codeca?
I think I was with them for about 2 years. Because my plan was to go to university to do music technology.
Oh, okay.
And I'd been in the band for about 6 months, maybe. And they were talking about recording an album. And they were like, but we don't really want to record this album and try and tour it if you're going to go to university in September. So I took a gap year from uni to see what happened with the band if anything happened. But in the gap year was when we broke up.
Yeah.
So like I was just like, fucking hell, guys. So you know what? Like I didn't go to uni for this, and now we're all just fucking off. The reason they split up was just because 2 of the lads just sort of wanted to go a different way with the music. They were a bit more into like Gaslight Anthem and Alkaline Trio and all that kind of like punk ska.
Yeah,
kind of. I don't know the proper genre of it, like, but rather than what you mean. Heavier, riffier stuff we were playing.
Yeah, that's more like glam punk, kind of pop punk.
So they wanted to do something a bit more like that. So that sort of split the band up, and then they started something. But I mean, like, it felt like no one really had like much of a drive. I think I joined when they were already like, oh, this is our last attempt of this. If that makes sense.
Already disillusioned.
Yeah, already sort of like, we're just going to fucking, this is the last run of it. Whereas I come in all fresh face being like, yeah, this is me forever now kind of thing.
Bolt of energy, like a transfer in when you got that lineup.
Yeah, definitely.
The team, and you're like, we've got one last run at a championship, lads.
Yeah.
We're bringing in this guy, this forward.
Yeah, so yeah, we recorded the album. That was fun, a fun like experience, you know. Went to Long Wave Studios in Cardiff.
Oh, okay.
Which was quite a decent studio, like Funeral for a Friend, Kids in Glass Houses and that. Recorded stuff there. But it's just expensive, man. I had to sell a lot of shit to like pay for it. And I say for something that like just didn't really do anything with. Sorry, 1 second. Can I just let me dog out?
Yeah, man, absolutely. Dog out. This is when he lets the dog out. We'll edit this out.
Sorry, man. Yeah, recording the album was cool. It was a fun experience, like, you know, going to Cardiff for 10 days and just living in the studio and
it's so fun recording.
Staying in a van and stuff like that. Yeah, it was class. Yeah, we nearly got kicked out of our hotel that week. Because it was back when there was smoking rooms.
Oh, yeah.
There was like a floor of smoking rooms, but we were obviously smoking weed in the rooms and that.
You didn't do the sock over the thing, but you didn't need to?
No, we were just blowing smoke out the window. We were like, it's a smoking room, it'd be fine, they won't go off. But then we ran out of weed, and the lad who was recording with sorted out it was some like hash or something. It's called like Squidgy Black or some shit, man. Like,
I remember Squidgy Black.
Yeah,
if anyone's watching, you don't know what Squidgy Black is. It's a type of hash that's basically like that. It's squidgy, and you can roll it. You're supposed to roll it up into a sausage, and put it. That's what we used to do, and put it in the tobacco in the spliff.
Yeah.
So it's easy to use,
yeah,
but it
so
was
I
always
think
a bit
that,
weird.
I think that just caused like toxic smoke. I think it's just like it just wasn't normal smoke, and that's what set the fire alarm off. But then nothing happened, so we were like, "Oh, it's sound. It must just be because it's a smoking room. They're not asked." But then in the middle of the night, because what happened, we had 2 hotel rooms, but one of the nights there was rugby on in Cardiff, so we only had 1 room. So we all snuck into 1 room. And like 2 of us were sleeping on the floor and like sharing beds and stuff. So there's quite a few of us in this 1 room. It's only meant to sleep like 2 or whatever. And I'm sleeping on the floor by the door. And I was the youngest one as well. And middle of the night, I heard like a walkie-talkie at the door. And I was like, oh shit, what's that? And they knock on. And all the lads are like shitting it. And they're going, oh, you'll have to answer it. Because I was like closest to the door. And I was like the youngest one in there. Like open the door, like fucked. And I was like, is everything okay? And he was like, oh, you're not allowed to be smoking in there. And I was like, but it's a smoking room. And he went, yeah, but you're not supposed to be smoking that. And I went, I just shut the door. I didn't know what to say. I just went, sorry, sir. Just shut the door and just lay back down. Just hope nothing ever happened. So we didn't get kicked out, like, but when you're young and that, you're like, oh, we're going to jail. We'll get the death penalty for smoking Squidgy Black in a travel lodge or something. Horrible.
Yeah, I mean, there was always some sort of danger. We were, my first band, Headroom, we were definitely a weed band. There used to be this website called oxfordbands.com, and when they interviewed a local band, they said, are you they said a drug band, a drink band, or a food band.
What's a food band?
Just bands who will eat together, and that's their main thing.
Right, okay.
Probably just bands who don't drink or do drugs, which... obviously mental.
The boring ones.
So they're like, let's go for a meal. We're vegan.
Yeah.
So that, and obviously sounds like you guys were definitely more of a weed band. And when you're young, it's easier than drinking, and you can kind of still play and you don't behave badly.
You get into more of a vibe. You can get into a bit more of a flow state with weed rather than getting bladdered, and then because it just causes chaos when you're drunk and that, and start smashing shit up. And like our bassist was more of an alcohol drinker. Yeah, so he was more. He always ended up fucking looking after him. He was always bladdered, like sound though. He was a good lad. It didn't ever cause any trouble, like, but you just definitely see the difference in it, like.
People seem more drunk when you're stoned, like, even than when you're sober. Like it goes the other way, and it's definitely a big difference. I found that we used to get ourselves into all kinds of scrapes just because we would be in a different place that we'd never been. Because when I go to a gig, when I'm doing comedy now, obviously I'm ancient, but I go to the place, I might go and get some food, but I'm in the venue the whole time.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, we're going to go and we're going to take 3 or 4 of us, and we're 17. We're going to go to a back alley behind a library somewhere and smoke an illegal substance in a place we've never been before. We don't know anything about it. So inevitably, we got robbed of weed like multiple times. Just like we just turn up, someone would be like, all right, give us your weed then. And we're like, yeah.
That's what you get for walking around with all your fur coats on.
Yeah, well, that's
walking in the line like the fucking Beatles.
We deserved it for sure.
Yeah.
Different band, but yes, absolutely. Well, with the later band, it was more of like, we were doing coke in somewhere weird, like we've never been. That's even worse. But we used to take bongs with us too to gigs. Oh yeah, we got a bong in the van, so that was a crazy thing.
It was just joints us, never really on the bongs and that. That was a cool. We had a cool one in it was like Neath, I think, in like South Wales ways. I think it was Neath. There was 2 places in Wales where we went. Barmouth, maybe.
Okay, Neath.
One of them 2.
Right.
They had there was a sick gig there, and because it was like a little small town, the metal scene was like, they just loved. You know, when you go do a comedy gig at a place and they're just so grateful that you've even drove to their town, that they just think anything you say is like the funniest thing they've ever heard.
Yeah.
This crowd were like, they'd listen to the bands that were on before they came. So we got there and we're playing the songs, and next thing, crowd like singing songs back to you, and you're like, oh, this is mad. Like, it was such a mad feeling. But then it was just chaos, and like they fucking like ripped the sinks off the walls in the toilets and all that, and just like full on like carnage, just like teenagers smashing up like it was like a fucking British Legion style, like, you know, one of them thingy rooms.
Yeah, like a village hall, like a working men's club or whatever.
Just fucking ruined the place. But then we were like, oh yeah, we're staying in our van down by the beach. So fucking, if you want to come down, hang out and that. So next thing there's like,
it's okay, it's still recording. It told me that it wasn't recording, but it's still recording.
Off for a minute.
Yeah, it fucked me off for a minute. Carry on, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, so we were like saying, we were staying down by the beach, come party with us and that. So we got like this fucking transit van that we'd like kitted out ourselves, which was like, it was shockingly bad. Felt like he was sleeping in coffins. And then we just had loads of like these people from the gig all coming, like smoking with us and like drinking with us on the beach and that. And it was like proper like, whoa, this is like rock star shit, this. And it wasn't like, but it was just at the time, it felt so cool. That was a sick gig. I remember that one. Like,
that's beautiful. I was talking about this on the previous episode with a guy called Steph, and just the idea of being welcomed into someone's community just because you're doing this thing, and they treat you like kind of royalty, and you a lot of the time you're not used to that. You don't expect that, even though that's really what you're kind of gunning for. If you want to be in a band, that's what you want from your life.
Yeah, it was a proper little taste into like, oh, this is what you're working for. Like people asking them to sign like EPs and shit.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't even got a signature. You know, like you just fucking didn't know what to do.
Using the same one you use on cards and stuff.
Yeah,
like,
just
this is actually...
fraud now. Fraudulent. Yeah, it was mad. Sick though. Such a good time.
I love those ones, man. Did you have a local village hall gig or anything that you guys would do, or any venues other than the one that you mentioned in Southport, which were like classic?
Not really, no. Like the Barfly in Liverpool.
Oh, what was that like? Because there were barflies everywhere for a bit, wasn't there?
Oh, it was cool.
I did the one in London, and there was one in Brighton as well. What was the Liverpool one saying?
It was sick. It was a great venue. Seen loads of bands there. It was a shame when it ended. I think it was on Seal Street, I think.
Okay.
I think it was next to where Heebie Jeebies is.
Yeah.
I think that's where it was, but I can't remember. But it was great, man. And I remember, it was one of them where you go watch bands there, and then like you're playing there, and then you're like, shit, this is cool. I'm playing the same stage that we watched fucking Into Shikari on last month or whatever, you know. So yeah, it was sick, man. It was a cool venue.
The Oxford Zodiac was that one for us. I'd say, I don't know if there was any more of those in our local area, but yeah, that was huge to be going and playing there. And then there was the big room as well. I don't know if we ever played in the big room in the Zodiac, but I mean, it's a shame that we're seeing less and less of these venues around. Obviously, big movements now to try and save venues because they're being moved. So, I mean, did you ever play at the Magnet in Liverpool? Because that became Hot Water Comedy Club, which you've obviously played many times.
Never played the Magnet, no. I remember going when I was younger. It was just for a night out, though, but I only ever really went once, I think.
It wasn't
the next time I went was
a big like band.
It was like an indie club, I think, really, an indie vibe. I remember playing Satan's Hollow. That's a mad place, yeah, because it's like a circle stage, innit? And you've got people all around you and that.
I've never been.
Right, yeah.
I've considered it, and I'm like, I moved to Manchester when I was 34, and I haven't had a drink since I've lived here.
Yeah, right.
So it's not exactly the place for me.
Is it still a thing? Is it still open?
When I first came to Manchester, a lot of people were going to Satan's Hollow. That was before COVID. I think it's still around, yeah. I think it is still around.
But yeah, that was mad. It was like the stage was like in the centre.
Yeah.
And it was like circular, so but you couldn't really like, you sort of had to just set up facing one way.
Yeah, you can't be in the round.
So yeah, but you wanted to be though. Do you get what I mean? Like you should have just put the drummer in the middle or some shit and all. But that's a mad venue that. Yeah.
So moving on to your next band, Cthulhu, who they lasted until about 2016. Is that right? They were still around for a bit.
Yeah, I left to go. I went to Australia, and they got another guitarist in who was one of our mates from another band, and I think they carried on for a little bit, recorded another couple songs, and then that ended, and then a few of the lads went and started other bands. Our bassist, he's in a band called Angel Numbers now, I think they're called.
Okay.
They're doing all right. They're on get played on like BBC Radio 1 and stuff like that, and we've had a few tunes out. And then what was the other one? I don't know if any of the others are still doing bands, but I think he's still doing his. But yeah, so that was 2 odd years maybe with them.
And how did you get involved with those guys?
I just knew I knew a lot of them. 2 of the lads I knew from the music scene in Southport. They were in another band called like Munro's Fall or something, which was like a heavier band, and we played a few gigs with them. So I knew them through that, and then I ended up working with one of them because I was in a tattoo shop that his missus owned, and he ran a bike shop underneath.
Yeah.
And then we just started becoming mates through that, and then we all decided, well, we should start a band. And yeah, it's just one of them, just like a naturally come up from like, oh, we want to do music, and a few of us want to do it.
So you were a founder member of this one. So it's a bit different.
Yeah.
I've always been a founder member of pretty much every band I've been in. So it's a bit of a different vibe to coming on board with one, like you said, that's already they've already done a certain amount of stuff.
Yeah.
You said with Codeca you were the last gasp chance.
Pretty much, yeah.
Did you have an idea of what you wanted to do with Cthulhu, like what you guys wanted to achieve?
No, we just wanted to make just heavy tunes, really. Just like inspired by some bands that we listened to. And we were just like, we just want to make fucking doom tunes.
Oh, yeah.
Essentially. Just for people to just... Yeah. That's all it was, just angry stuff. But it was mad because you turn up at the gigs like, oh, hey, guys, like all fucking... Meet loads of people in these, like... As I say, we gig with, like... there's a band called, like... there was Black Tongue and... Like, some of their members were in a band called Infant Annihilator, which are, like, super heavy. And they were, like, so nice. The guy had, like, a Pokemon T-shirt on. Yeah. And they're from Hull. And they're like, oh, you're right, guys. And you're like, oh, what's happening? And then they're on stage just like, fuck it, man. Like, it's a mad, like, juxtaposition of, like,
it's so
personality to the music that they play,
One of the friendliest festivals I've ever been to is Download.
Yeah.
Because everybody there is so nice. There's no dickheads, really.
Because it's
go
all outcasts, isn't it?
They're all outcasts. They know what it's like to have people be mean to them, and they wouldn't do that. And they found community and love in what
it's class.
like.
That's why I thought watching that. Have you seen the Woodstock '99 documentary?
Of course, love it.
I only started watching it the other day.
I had no idea the extent of it until I watched the doc. I knew about it.
It was just
I remember when it happened, but
it was so funny when they were like, Korn played. And and then that Bush band were like, oh, we couldn't. It was like diving into an ocean of darkness or something. And I was just like, bunch of pussies come follow Korn.
Yeah, you can't follow Korn.
I was like, it just looks like a sick gig. That.
Oh man, it looked amazing. Yeah.
Until it all fucking fell in on itself, like. But
what do you do? I mean, you're like looking at you like, we could completely destroy this place because these people are going to go nuts. You can't go on there and they're like, right, we'll go 75% in order to keep... You don't do that. Once you get out there, you're going.
Yeah, when Fred Durst comes out and he's like, do you ever want to fucking break some shit? And I was like, yeah. It was so good.
It would be worse if he missed it out. I mean, I went to Download, 2006 it was. I went to Download a long time ago. Guns N' Roses played. This was before they got the original lineup back together.
Right.
They had Buckethead and they had the guy from Primus and they had the random people. Yeah. They would play a song and then Axl Rose would disappear for 10 minutes
Mad.
And they'd be messing around playing instrumental stuff, and then he'd come back and do another song. It was a disaster, and there was a riot, and there was set fire. Everyone was going mad. It was a horrible time. Nobody talks about that. That was like a mini Woodstock. I think nobody died or anything. But
I remember like when we used to go to Leeds Festival when we were younger. And I was like 18, and the last night was always riots.
Yeah.
It was the last night. It was like Lord of the Flies, fucking tents get ripped up, set on fire, big fires, gas canisters on fires. My mate nearly started like a big fucking pilgrimage to burn down one of the dance tents. It was just pure chaos, and it was like scary, but it was like that's just what happened on the Sunday nights, and I don't even know if that's a thing anymore.
Leeds was famous for it, surely at the time, but you don't hear about that now. I mean, unless it's just happening and nobody talks about it. I don't speak to anybody who goes
carnage.
To Leeds now.
Like it was like scary, like, and you just go, I'm just gonna have to get involved in this, otherwise I'm becoming a victim and someone's gonna rob me or something.
You can't be set on fire if you are setting on fire.
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
It was, and there was a metal night in Brighton called The Pit. Again, everyone was lovely at that, and it's funny. I did the spot at the Manchester Punk Festival last weekend.
Oh, nice!
There's a little comedy tent, and I went to watch some bands at the main stage there. And I'll let you in on my thought process here, because I'm standing there with a load of other punk musicians who are all backstage passes. We're looking down from this balcony. I'm looking at them all. I'm like, they've all got phones. They've all got iPhones on Instagram.
So punk.
They're the same as us, really. I mean, they're no different. They're just people.
Yeah,
there's no difference. They're just nice people. That's a slightly different thing, but it just, to me, in my mind, like a real punk wouldn't have a phone.
Wouldn't have a phone.
Fuck you, Mark Zuckerberg.
Maybe have a flip phone.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Something like that, but he wouldn't be on Facebook and Instagram and all that. Like, that's what you see when people like fucking like virtue signaling on like Twitter and all that, and you go, the device you're using was made by slaves, essentially.
Yeah.
Like the phone that you're tweeting all this, like, or how high and mighty I am. It's like people in China, they have to put nets in the factories so people don't kill themselves.
So jump off the thing.
And you're like, oh, fucking, it's so hypocritical sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's why I don't help anyone.
I just thought to myself, punks are just like us, except they won't listen to any other kind of music. They've just kept their music the same since 1994
Did you see that video of that band the other day, and they were just playing a Green Day song?
I didn't think online. I didn't see that.
Yeah, it was like they seemed like it had like real Nepo Baby vibes to them.
Oh yeah,
they were saying like, oh, this song's about how fucking shit the fucking country is at the minute, and it was just like is it like Brain Dead or something by Green Day? The one's just like
Brain Stew, yeah,
Brain Stew. That one.
We used to
just
cover that actually,
but it was just that with different words, and everyone was like, you can't just rob Green Day's song.
Oh, they took the riff of that, and redid it.
Yeah, and everyone was just like going, "What the fuck are you doing? Just taking Green Day's tune, like."
Maybe that's where we are now. Maybe Green Day have written all the songs.
Is that our sampling? Is it? That's modern day sampling.
That's it.
You could argue that, couldn't you? You go, I've just sampled Brain Stew.
They used to do that back in the day. If you listen to the 50s and early 60s, pre-Beatles music, if they had a hit, the second single and the third and the fourth after were the exact same song, essentially. They just took the same song and reworked it very slightly differently. I wish I could think of an example, but a lot of artists just did that because they were like, well, that succeeded. Let's go again with another one. And it was blatant. And they'd rip off the other people's songs, and that's the way it was. And now it's like, oh, you've got to be original.
And I used to love all that with I started listening to a lot of like sort of, I don't even know what, like funk and soul stuff, like Curtis Jackson and all that type of stuff. And the amount of times I was listening to a song and going, oh, this is Wu-Tang used this, or like something else used this, and hearing where the original samples were from. I think that's like cool. Like, it's cool finding them all, but this was just a blatant rip off of like, oh, we've just took that song and put different words on it. And you go, no, that's not.
with the same melody, saying that whole thing. Yeah,
it's true. Yeah, then there was a lot of fume about it, so maybe that's why.
You know, we'll get some clicks if we just
to be fair, you're probably right there. Yeah,
blatantly rip off a song and don't mention
that in it. Such an annoying world we live in.
It's awful. I mean, and that's one thing that's changed so much. I mean, obviously, MySpace was around when you were started out doing music, but other than that, there was no idea that social media would become what it is.
Oh no, yeah, it's just madness now.
The idea that bands now are doing videos, maybe on TikTok, that aren't music videos. They're, trend videos. These are the top 5 things with their music in the background, so that it pulls it in. The idea of doing that when we were younger is just like
selling out, isn't it? Yeah, mad. But it's just
you just got no money.
Just got to change.
Guaranteed money.
Yeah. You just got to roll with the game, innit? See whatever's happening. Like a lot of people put, like we all do crowd work clips and that now, because it's like, and even that now you feel like, I need to do. How can I do it differently to everyone? But that wasn't a thing a while ago either, was it? Like putting stand-up.
What about music? How about bands doing crowd work clips? Let's get that going.
Ooh.
The singer from the band doing banter.
There was a good. I remember watching an Opeth concert.
Oh yeah, good band.
And they were like, he was going through the band, going, "Oh, this is so and so on the bass, this is so and so," and then he got to the drummer, and he was like, "Oh, why don't you give him like a 4/4 beat?" So then obviously he plays like a 4/4 beat, and he goes, "Right, how about a 6/8 beat with some fills and that?" And then he does that, and then he goes, "How about a 17 fucking whatever 38 beat with some blasts and that?" And he's just like, so that was like a cool little interaction, like little improv sort of thing that they done. That was nice to see, but a lot of the time it's just like it's painful when they're trying to like be funny or something in it. You're just like, just play the tunes, man. Just play the tunes.
I think bands should, if not try stand up, because I mean, obviously, like you can't get good at banter in between songs quickly, but you should like have to go watch open mic comedy to realize how bad it is when people are not good at talking in between songs, and then you'd be like, you know what, maybe I should write.
Just play the next tune.
I think you can do talking. I think it's quite good. That's how I started doing stand-up. One of the reasons was because I was the singer in a band for a short time. I started a band and I was the lead vocalist and guitarist. Yeah. And I would talk between the songs. It was probably rubbish. I get that.
But I think at a music gig, though, you get away with a bit more, like, they go, "Oh, he's a singer who is funny," rather than, "Oh, he's trying to do comedy."
Yeah,
I think there's a different, that you get a bit of more of a leeway with the crowd, like
so much. Yeah, and I thought, hey, maybe I'll just do the talking bit.
Yeah, fuck all this.
Off the music.
Yeah, no, but you do music though in your comedy, don't you? It's good.
I do everything now. I talk and I sing, and
I like that you do. You don't really do covers, do you?
No, I have a couple of very brief. It's more of gags where I use existing riffs. Yeah. I use Smoke on the Water, Sunshine of Your Love, and Blackbird.
Yeah. But your actual songs you do are all like originals in it, and
they're all fully original.
I like that more. I'm not a fan of like parody comedy as much, really.
Weird Al does it best. Yeah. Everyone else is just grasping at straws. Yeah. And a lot of the time it's like the verses are very clever, but there's no laughs until you get to the chorus, and the twist is revealed. And it's like we're wasting a lot of time with these verses here.
And then they're hard to follow as well. You're like, fuck off, I can't follow you. You've got everyone clapping and singing, and now I want to come up with just dick jokes, man. What are you doing?
Yeah, I'm easy to follow. I try not to be too good.
You smash it all the time. See you do well loads.
You too. Let's tie it off. How did Codeca? How did Cthulhu? And by the way, you must have thought that must be taken, Cthulhu.
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't even think to check. It was just like, yeah, that'll do. And then the EP was sort of like named after the fella who wrote like about
Lovecraft.
Yeah. So it was all sort of we tried to make it like a thing, like a theme, but didn't bother checking. And now I tried to look. I had to remember the name of the YouTube channel to find our stuff.
Right,
because
yeah.
it's just there's just so much stuff, like it was madness.
Oh, yeah, it's a popular one. So how did that come to an end? And
I mean, I went to Australia. I don't really know how the band ended because, as I say, I'd left and they replaced me with one of our other mates, and they recorded a few other tunes. And then I think it's just hard work, man, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
especially when you're getting older and people start like getting in relationships and having kids and stuff. It's just like can't really be affording to fucking practice twice a week, go all around the country gigging and that, and for no money, and then you've got a full-time job as well, and you're like, this is fucking, it's just too much effort for what you're getting back out of it. Like,
yeah, that's definitely,
with comedy,
yeah.
it's the same sort of graft, but you're there for 10 minutes. You know, you set 10 minutes long. You can go when you want, come home when you want. You're not relying on like those 6 of us have got to get to fucking Birmingham or whatever, and you got half an hour, 45-minute sets or whatever. It's just like you can dip in, do 10, dip out again, and just a lot easier just to do stuff on your own, I think.
Yeah, and there's more money to be made, like not to get into that, but like when you actually get good, you can just go and get gigs that pay. And yes,
100%, yeah.
Your petrol and your food and stuff, and then that's your expenses, but you know, you're pocketing that cash.
Yeah.
I think that's the mistake we made in my main band, was that we didn't try hard enough to create an environment where we could move away from working. It was like we're still trying to get this big thing up here.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're right. There comes a point where you're like, how am I going to do this? And yeah, like when I started bands again in my late 20s, I was like, everybody had a dog and a girlfriend, and some of them had kids, and it was just like, this is impossible.
Just like, when I was 17, it was just like, fully commit to this. There's no other things. And then, like you say, you get older and you're just like, you can't really be fucking slogging it on the road trying to like make it as a band when you've got bills to pay and shit. Like, and they said not much money coming in. Any money that they come in, you've got to split it 5 ways. You'll get like a tenner.
That's the mad thing about it. Yeah,
there's so many hours of practice and equipment that you've bought and petrol and all chipped in to do this van up and all stuff like that, and you've paid for merch, and no one's buying the merch because no one fucking knows who you are, and that you're just like, oh, for fuck's sake, it's tough,
but
man.
You got merch,
but
it looks like shit anyway, and
no one
wants it.
Yeah, it's a tough slog, man.
It really is. Anyone who's made it, anyone who does it and makes a living out of it, I'm very impressed by it and in great admiration. So and now must be even harder, but I guess
especially with like Spotify and all that, we get like 4p a track, a per stream or whatever. That must be. There's just so much to compete with as well, isn't it? Like,
oh yeah, so much music going on.
Mad. So I'm glad we dipped out and got into the comedy game anyway.
Absolutely, because look at us now.
Yeah.
So and speaking of that, I guess last word about it. What would be the what put you then into comedy, and is there any kind of things that tie the two together, music and comedy?
I mean, comedy I've always been a fan of when I was younger. When I've done business in A-level, and my business teacher was a stand-up comedian.
Oh, okay.
And he'd done like a comedy course and that. And I remember him saying to me and my mate, like, oh, you should come and do this course. Because we were always fucking about, like, making each other laugh and just being stupid for the class and whatever. And I remember him saying when we were like 18, oh, you should come and do this course. It's like 6 weeks and then you do a gig at the end of it. And I was like, fuck, I'm not doing that. I'm not fucking doing comedy. You mad? Like, because I thought back then, you know, like what I imagine a lot of people think as well when you watch like Lee Evans and you go, he's so funny to just come out for an hour and speak those words for the first time, and I could never do that. You know, like it's not
just comes
been
up with
practiced. It. Yeah. So when you're on the outside of it, you see it as something completely different. And I was just like, I'm not that funny. I cannot do that at all. Like, but then as I got older, it was more listening to podcasts with comedians on and hearing them all saying like, oh, I bombed for years. And you go, oh, but you're a headliner now. And you go, oh, so everyone sort of goes through that shit bit of like working it out, and then you go through the ranks and you gradually get better the more you do it and that. And I was just, when we moved to Australia was when I really got into it, like, because there's a comedy club in Melbourne and they'd done like a year's pass for like $35 or something.
Oh, okay.
So you could just go every night.
Yeah,
all the time, to the point where I was sort of like, started seeing people doing the same sets over and over again. And I was like, oh, right, okay. And then I'd like watch new people, and I'd sort of try and guess where they were going with stuff. And sometimes you get it right, and the whole audience is laughing, and you're going, did no one else see that coming? So then you're like, oh, well, maybe I can write a joke then if I'm hitting this punchline before he's getting there, and everyone's laughing already. You go, oh, maybe I can do that. So then that's when I started like writing and getting into it. And it's similar in the thing of like, you come up through the open mic scene.
Yeah.
You know, you sort of got to work on it, and then you get in front of different people, you get on certain gigs, you open for people. There's a lot of similarities, I think, in the rise of it, but it's also very different as well.
Yeah. So different.
Do you get what I mean? Yeah.
And so separate. Like when I was doing bands in Brighton, I had no idea about the comedy scene there. And there was Comedia, there was a lot of gigs, and a lot of comics living there. I never went to see comedy until the last year that I lived there, when I went and saw a few gigs.
Yeah.
And likewise, although I have friends who are musicians here, my brother is a musician in Manchester. He's very active. He knows loads of people. I never go to gigs.
Yeah.
I rarely check out. I don't know these people. They don't know me. Even though we do, like,
you're in the entertainment, like
we're
business.
In entertainment. And I guess similar people watch us. Young people go and watch these gigs, but it's a completely separate world.
Yeah. But I thought it was just like, it was insane, even just like starting comedy and going, oh well, I'm one of 3 comedians in the whole of Liverpool, I think, now. And then you turn up at an open mic and you go, who the fuck are all yous? And there's just like 50 comedians all from, and you go, how many people actually doing stand up? And then like, there's just so many comedians, man, that you just never heard of, or like on the open mic scene, all the way through to club headliners that aren't on the telly and that. It's just a whole new world that you just don't know exists until you start getting into it, like, and it's madness.
It still amazes me. I've been doing comedy like 8 years now, and it still amazes me when I see, never heard of that person in my life.
Yeah, and they're massive.
They're doing a major gig, and they're out there, and they've been signed or whatever it is. You're like, okay, that's another one on the list. Just all
sorts. And that's probably
take out.
Yeah, that's probably a similarity to the music industry of like some people coming up and getting agents quicker when you've been like slogging, like doing the gigs for years and that, and then this new person comes along and maybe they've got a bit of money behind them or whatever, and they get fast tracked and that. That's a very similar thing to the music industry, I imagine, as well. But yeah, so it's similar but also very different at the same time. Like, but it's fun. It's just, and I think being in the band definitely helped me with stage presence.
Yeah.
Just being used to being, like, I was never on my own, but you used to being on stage in front of people at least. It's not like the first time ever going up and you're like, oh shit, this is like, it must be well more scary, I imagine, if you've never been on stage before and then you just got to go do an open mic, like.
For sure. I mean, I jumped on there with so much confidence when I first started, which actually set me back because I don't have the analytical mind that you have. I'm so super confident in myself. I was like, I'm just going to be great at this.
Yeah, right.
And it occurred to me after a while, like, I have no idea how to write a joke. This confidence and this bolshiness is not going to get me anywhere.
It carries you so far, doesn't it? But then, like you say, and then there's no substance there, and you're like, is he just dead confident there for whatever reason? Yeah. But
I used to get the compliment when I was done that not you're so brave, but great stage presence.
Yeah.
Which means you're shit, but you're confident.
You looked like you knew what you were doing, but what you were saying wasn't great. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Class.
Well, I think we've come to the end of the interview, Dean.
Sweet,
it's
man.
gone quickly, hasn't it?
Yeah, it was fun, man. Flew by. Nice.
Absolutely. It's been great. You've been the first comedian on of many, I assume. So thanks so much for doing it. Is there anything you want to plug while we were here?
Yeah, just give us a follow on social media. It's Dean Coughlin _ on everything. And then we've got the Mild High Club, which is, we just live stream now. And we've got live talent show every month in Liverpool, which are always real fun. But you can watch them on our Patreon, which is like a free trial that you can sign up to if you're interested in coming down and watching any of them. But yeah, other than that, man, just follow online and that, see what's going on.
Great pod and a wild show, so I hear. I haven't been to it yet. It's at the great venue, the Shipping Forecast, which I really like.
Yeah, man, try and come down one time.
I don't have any talent, mate.
You can play songs. Get the band back together.
I'm the most talented.
Get Papa Lean's meme machines or whatever they're called. Yeah.
Oh, they are all over the place now. I tell you, they are all over the place. One day I'll tell my stories of how these bands reformed. That's a whole different world. So listeners, get ready for that. There's some harrowing business in there. Thank you, Dean, and thank you, everyone. Like and subscribe. Take care. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much.